Unexpected encounter. Single dad's touching gesture reveals hidden connection with CEO mom. Jake stepped into Timmy's school, his heart pounding with an urgency that mirrored the blistering cold of the night outside. He ran a hand through his unruly hair and surveyed the room walls adorned with vibrant art projects and laughter echoing from parents milling around. For a fleeting moment, a shadow of nostalgia washed over him, a reminder of simpler times before life became a battleground of endless bills and sleepless nights. But as he adjusted to the scene, doubt clawed at his insides. He felt out of place among the polished attendees, their designer shoes clicking purposefully against the tile floor. Would they see him as just a custodian? He felt the pressure of his frayed sleeves, a constant reminder of the two grueling jobs that barely kept food on the table. The gas bill arrived last week, 2 months past due and gnawing at his mind. The hospital expenses for Timmy's medication piled up like a mountainside, a burden pressing heavily on his shoulders. The anxiety twisted, a knot of desperation in his gut, forcing him to wrestle with the suffocating fear that he could fail his son when he needed him the most. As he navigated his internal storm, his eyes landed on a striking figure across the room. Sarah, the confident CEO of a tech company, glided through the throng like a star among mere mortals. The subtle recognition that ignited between them was startling. They had crossed paths as children, families intertwined in the warm haze of summer barbecues. But here she stood in her sharply tailored blazer, and he, a weary dad in well-worn jeans. Could they connect again under such different circumstances? Did she remember him? Before he could ponder further, their paths aligned. She turned, catching his gaze, and for a heartbeat, the bustling crowd faded. Their conversation unfolded slowly, and yet, every word felt like a double-edged sword. How was it that someone like him could find common ground with someone high up the corporate ladder? Jake shared his worries about Timmy, the weight of his responsibilities spilling out like secrets he hadn't even realized he was hiding. A laugh escaped Sarah, not cruel, but resonant and warm, as she reciprocated with tales of her high-powered life that often left her feeling void and isolated. Yet, as they connected, a growing tension loomed beneath the surface. He realized the enormity of their situations. She faced the struggles of her own success, the pressure to deliver while navigating layoffs and market trends that could crush her dreams. Meanwhile, Jake's financial instability loomed like a storm, an ever-present threat of losing everything he had fought so hard to maintain. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The air shifted, a palpable silence draping over them like a heavy quilt. She faltered, uncertainty flashing across her polished facade. It was here, amidst the swirl of expectations and unspoken fears, that Jake felt his own resolve intensify. Maybe I can help, he offered quietly, surprising himself with the conviction in his voice. What did he know of tech troubles? But desperation had a way of revealing hidden talents, and perhaps, he thought, he could lend her an extra set of hands against the tide of uncertainty. Yet just as that possibility unfurled, a long-buried family secret threatened to surface, intertwining their lives even deeper. What tangled history lurked beneath a casual encounter? Jake's heart sank as he contemplated the weight of what might be revealed. Could love blossom from the remnants of their shared past? Or were they simply destined for chaos? With the air thick with uncharted territory, Jake could only question what lay ahead, but the past loomed large and unforgiving on the horizon, leaving tension hanging like an unresolved chord in the darkened room. Jake stood there, grappling with the weight of his offer and the unexpected rush of emotions coursing through him. He could sense Sarah's hesitation, the way she processed his implication with a flicker of surprise and curiosity. She took a deep breath, and he wondered if she saw through his bravado a mere single dad daring to stride into her world and offer help in the face of her expertise. What do you mean? She finally asked, a questioning look mixed with intrigue touching her features. He collected his thoughts, realizing just how little he knew of her world, yet the thought of Timmy and their struggles fueled his words. I'm good at problem solving, maybe I can help with some of those tech issues you mentioned. You've got a lot on your plate, and if I can lighten that load, why not? She remained silent for a moment, processing his sincerity. The vulnerability in that stance cracked the dialogue open wider, the words painted in shades of complicated emotion. What he proposed was more than just skills, it was a bridge to a shared connection, a way to breach their disparate worlds. Thanks, Jake. I might take you up on that, she said, her voice lightening, yet beneath it, he detected a hint of apprehension. For a fleeting instant, they indulged in casual conversation laced with shared memories, glossing over their respective realities like a balm for the soul. Yet as they exchanged stories, the heavy clouds of Jake's financial troubles loomed larger in his mind, encroaching with disquieting familiarity. That evening, as Jake nestled Timmy into bed, he wrestled with two opposing truths. He could potentially help Sarah while hoping for a personal windfall, yet the fear of entrapment in a world of pretense loomed dangerously nearby. Did he even belong there? A single dad with double shifts and crumbling walls around him, harboring dreams that had become virtual castles in the air. The next day began with a fresh light illuminating the rooms of his modest apartment, yet inwardly, Jake was still wrestling with self-doubt. Each click of the clock reverberated through his core, reminding him of the deadlines he could hardly keep up with. He rifled through the pages of the tech journal from the community center. He didn't understand half of the jargon. But the stories revealed how technology could shift entire industries and lives. He flipped a page, eyes narrowing at an article on coding boot camps. A flame ignited in him. If he could somehow leverage his skills despite his current limitations, perhaps a pathway existed not only for his own growth but for Timmy's future. The idea erupted like a hairline fracture, distracting him with a tinkling echo of hope. Later that week, Jake found himself standing in front of the very boot camp he had read about, uncertainty clawing at his resolve. The entrance loomed like a guardian of dreams, the sign buzzing with potential. As each moment unfurled, he felt entangled between his fears of failure and the burgeoning flame of ambition that urged him forward. His instincts pressed against him, clamoring insistently. He was a single dad, yes, but he could also be someone who changed not only his son's life but perhaps even carve a niche in a world that felt relentlessly out of his reach. Turning toward the entrance, Jake steadied his breath and took a step forward, the determination settling into a fierce longing to break through the limitations around him. What awaited within those doors loomed with an unmistakable promise of personal growth, each heartbeat urging him closer. But just as he prepped to enter, Jake's phone buzzed in his pocket, a message from Sarah. Can we meet? I think we might need to talk. The question hanging in the air sparked another wave of uncertainty. Was he ready to face the implications of her request? More than that, what connections were they further entangling in that would test him beyond mere responsibility? With heart pounding and thoughts racing, Jake balanced on the edge of transformation, ready to confront not just the tech world, but the shadows of his past. Intertwining with a potential future. The unfolding opportunities promised to redefine his life, but at what cost? Would he embrace the unknown, or would fear shackle him at the door? Jake stared at the buzz of his phone, that simple notification shifting the entire gravity of the moment. Sarah's message lingered in front of him, a mere sentence weighing down on him like a stone. He hesitated, throat tight, thoughts swirling. Could he meet her now, ready to articulate his emotions, ambitions, and fears? The paradox was brutal. Here he stood on the precipice of opportunity with the boot camp behind him, yet felt unworthy, as if not equipped to engage in this new territory poised at his feet. He stepped back, shaking off the disbelief that he could balance both his aspirations and the responsibility of being Timmy's father. The possibility of becoming someone in this world that had felt detached from him ignited a longing so fierce it almost hurt. Fronting up to a bold new venture with Sarah would require more than just problem-solving skills. It demanded vulnerability, a willingness to reveal himself. His feet moved unconsciously toward the cafe just down the street, a familiar venue where they shared occasional light-hearted conversations. As he approached, he scanned the interior, searching for her silhouette amidst the cozy shadows. When he spotted her, a deep breath knotted in his chest. Sarah looked engaged, perhaps amused, distractedly stirring her coffee as she awaited him. "Hey," She smiled, the corners of her eyes crinkling with levity. Thanks for coming. Jake slid into the chair across from her, a casual stiffness in his body language. I got your message. What's up? We need to talk about those tech issues I mentioned before, she said, her tone shifting to one of focus. But it's more than that. I could use your help on a project that's coming up. However, I also want to know how you're really doing. You seemed out of my depth. He interrupted, the sharpness of his self-assessment breaking through the cozy atmosphere she had tried to create. I feel like I'm catching up, and if I'm honest, I don't exactly fit in. Her eyebrows raised slightly, absorbing the raw honesty. You'd be surprised, Jake. Sometimes, the ones who think they don't belong are the very ones who can bring fresh perspectives. Just because you're not entrenched in tech doesn't mean you can't contribute something valuable. His heart raced. Was it really that simple? Or was she saying it out of graciousness? Jake couldn't help but question her belief in him. Was he more than the dad trying to scramble for stability? Did he dare believe she valued his insight beyond the lens of their casual conversations? I like helping, he confessed, a sudden confidence surging forth from the depth of uncertainty. I know I'm not your classic tech guy, but if I can lighten your load, I'd like to try. The way Sarah regarded him softened into something profound, and in that moment, Jake glimpsed an understanding that transcended professional necessity. It was personal. It was connection. Let's strategize, she suggested. We can leverage what I know and what you can offer. Work together, let us uncover new possibilities. He could feel the tentative groundwork of collaboration forming beneath them. The thought stoked an ember within him. This wasn't just about helping Sarah or boosting a resume. It could symbolize his escape from self-doubt, a chance to fully engage with his potential. As they mapped out the possible paths ahead, Jake couldn't shake the sense that something within him was shifting profoundly. The knowledge that he could meld two worlds felt liberating, a daring balance to walk. But even amid the thrill of connection, shadows of doubt lingered. What if he failed? What if, in trying to navigate both the nascent professional landscape and his roles as a father, he lost everything? The meeting shifted from light banter to focused dynamics, drawing Jake deeper into the realm he had feared stepping into. But as they delineated the boundaries of their collaboration, Sarah turned to him, an earnest gaze locking onto his. Are you in this for yourself, Jake, or just to help me? Jake faltered, his breath hitching at the emotional truth of her question. Was this connection genuinely about mutual growth, or was there an undercurrent of desperation fueling his ambitions? In that vulnerable moment, the weight of choice hung precariously before him. He was at the crossroads of redefining himself, yet fear loomed ever larger. Suddenly, his phone vibrated again, a notification from the boot camp he had nearly walked into days earlier. The time had come to face not only his fears but also the essence of who he was becoming. With Sarah in front of him, he had to confront that whispering thought. What if this opportunity was meant to prepare him for the seismic changes ahead? Jake drew a breath, steeling himself against the looming challenge. The future felt uncertain, yet he recognized a flicker of determination gleaming through the fog of doubt. He glanced back at Sarah, seeing her expectant gaze, and knew they were on the cusp of something profound. The chance to break ground was here, but could he embrace it fully? The moment stretched as he teetered on his next move, existing in that crucible of vulnerability, possibility, and dread. What awaited him was unfolding, yet his own hesitations threatened to undermine everything he was beginning to build. Would he step boldly into the light, or fall back into the shadows? Jake focused on the swirling steam rising from Sarah's coffee, willing the warmth to seep into his hands and numb the creeping anxiety threatening to overwhelm him. The ambience of the cafe felt particularly charged, the hum of conversations fading into the background as he experienced the weight of the moment. Every instinct urged him to retreat into comfortable familiarity, but an undeniable urge to push forward beckoned him. Listen, Sarah, he finally said, pushing through the knot in his throat. I want to help you, but I need to know it's not just about me fitting in or trying to make up for the gaps in my skills. Sarah's gaze remained steady, her eyes betraying an understanding far deeper than their casual rapport would suggest. This is about us growing together. You have something different to bring to the table. Your perspective is valuable. Do I? Jake's voice was trembling now, hinting at a vulnerability he'd long buried. I spend most days feeling like I'm just trying to survive. I'm not exactly the ideal partner for a project like this. There are smarter, more capable people out there. And that's exactly why you shouldn't discount yourself, she countered softly, leaning in slightly. You bring life experiences I could never replicate just from my time in tech. What's out there is one thing, but what you have, it's unique. A silence stretched between them, charged with the gravity of his insecurity. He desperately wanted to be open, yet, self-doubt loomed like a specter, keeping him anchored to the familiar. Wasn't he merely projecting his failures to augment this professional bond? But the flicker of determination he had felt earlier began to stoke a further flame within him. What if he actively sought to redefine how he viewed himself? Instead of a bumbling father attempting to claw his way back into relevance, he could be an active participant in life, a figure to shape his son's future and his own. Okay, let's design a plan, he finally said, his voice stronger, emboldened by the echo of Sarah's faith in him. They settled into an engaging dialogue, projecting ideas onto a paper napkin, sketching out potential outcomes. Every word he shared felt like a piece of armor being forged, piece by piece. His thoughts transitioned from chaotic self-doubt to constructive revelations. Previously unacknowledged skills surfaced along with a renewed sense of purpose. Yet shadows persisted, the echoes of his daily struggles, the fears of not being enough for Timmy, for Sarah, lingered in the corners of his mind, whispering their familiar mantras. As they wrapped up their brainstorming, an unexpected thought struck him. Was he allowing this burgeoning connection with Sarah to distract him from the fundamental responsibility he had toward his son? That internal conflict mounted. Familial duties and personal ambitions clashed fiercely in his heart. Despite the thrill of carving a niche in this new chapter of life, would he ultimately risk becoming the absentee father who sought significance outside the home? As Jake packed away the notes, the tension between duty and ambition tightened, and he sensed the irony in his journey. Seeking growth may come with sacrifices. If he pursued this path with fervor, which would require moments away from Timmy, could he still be the father he dreamed of being? Jake? Sarah's voice sliced through his spiraling thoughts. Are you still with me? He met her eyes, realizing he could no longer dwell on trepidation. Yeah, I am. I'm all in. Just need to figure a few things out. Good, she replied, a bright smile lighting her face. Let us keep this momentum. I believe we can create something great. The determination within surged, but layers of uncertainty tangled in pursuit of balancing his professional aspirations with his responsibilities. He needed to confront this dilemma head-on before it unraveled his newly birthed ambition. As they stood to leave the cafe, Jake felt a potent shift within himself. A mixture of excitement and dread bolstered his resolve to embrace what lay ahead. But just then, a new notification buzzed through his pocket, another prompt from the boot camp, reminding him of a deadline. Was it a coincidence, or perhaps an unyielding nudge from fate? Jake's heart raced, the confluence of opportunity colliding with a foreboding specter of failure. The challenge was clear. He wouldn't just be carving a new professional identity, but an exquisite balancing act involving the core of who he was, a single father striving to make a difference. In the momentary pause before stepping back into the world outside, he realized that this was only the beginning of a deeply transformative journey. What awaited could alter the trajectory of not just his life, but that of his son's too. Jake looked at Sarah, her radiant spark igniting a flicker of hope within him. How far could he go if he truly challenged himself? What if embracing opportunity meant paving the way for both him and Timmy? As he walked out of the cafe, determination coursing through his veins, he felt the gravity of that question pull him along. Would he rise to meet this unfolding destiny or retreat once again? The air was crisp as Jake stepped outside, the coolness wrapping around him like an embrace, a stark contrast to the warmth inside the cafe. He paused, taking a moment to inhale deeply. The scent of fresh coffee lingered in his senses, intermingled with the ambitious plans sketched on that napkin. Yet, beneath the excitement lay a gnawing worry that settled in his stomach. His responsibilities as a father, as Timmy's unwavering support, loomed larger than any burgeoning career aspirations. With every step he took toward home, he mentally prepared for the impending challenge. Prioritizing self-growth while ensuring that Timmy felt nurtured and secure required a careful plan. He had to be present for his son, not just physically, but emotionally. What would Timmy think of his father pursuing these new aspirations? Would he understand the reasons behind Jake's absence during this transition? As he walked, thoughts ricocheted inside his mind, echoing the conversations he'd had with Sarah. Would he let his own ambitions eclipse his existing bond with Timmy? He envisioned his son playing alone in the evenings, waiting for his father to return from meetings or projects that demanded his attention. The thought pierced through his newfound resolve, causing him to hesitate. The mentoring aspect of fatherhood was not just about guidance, it was about being there, creating memories, and cultivating trust. Arriving home, he found Timmy sprawled out on the living room floor, engrossed in an art project. The vibrant colors of crayons and construction paper painted a stark contrast to the uncertainty rattling in Jake's mind. "Hey, buddy," he greeted, kneeling down beside him, allowing himself to be swept into the ordinary joy of the moment. "Look, Dad. I'm building a spaceship." Timmy beamed, holding up his artistic creation with pride. The joy radiating from his son struck a chord deep within Jake, fueling a protective instinct that sent a shiver up his spine. "Wow. That's incredible, Timmy. I'm impressed." Enthusiasm graced his voice, masking the internal conflict that widened within him. While the time spent here brought comfort, it also weighed heavily on his ambitions. It was challenging to balance admiration for his son's creativity with the pressing desire to pursue personal development. "Can we build it together?" Timmy asked with wide, hopeful eyes. Here was the pivotal moment that Jake faced an invitation to engage not just with Timmy's activities but with his life as a whole. "Sure. Let us do it," he replied, a smile breaking through his contemplation, allowing himself to be carried into the simplicity of childhood wonder. As they worked on the spaceship, timbers of laughter intertwined with fleeting touches of doubt. Bits of paint splattered across Jake's hands, yet he relished the mess, a tangible reminder to stay grounded in the present. But even as he helped Timmy piece together the spaceship, thoughts of Sarah, deadlines, and boot camp requirements crowded his mind, creating a weighing scale of priorities that threatened to tip. Was pursuing this new venture worth the chance it might take him away? What would happen if the table he built for his career began to overshadow the one he had already formed with Timmy? Fear flickered in his stomach. Being a father required commitment and attention, two things he wouldn't dare compromise. Then, an idea sparked: what if he involved Timmy in this journey? Anything he was exploring in the professional space could also become a bonding opportunity. Co-parenting meant sharing the load, bringing his son into conversations, showing him the importance of pursuing dreams. This venture could be their shared adventure. "Hey, Timmy, how would you like to help me work on a new project? Something fun that we can do together?" he asked, watching the gleam of excitement ignite in his son's eyes. "Really? Can it be a spaceship project? We can make it the biggest," Timmy exclaimed, his voice bubbling with enthusiasm. "Yes. A special project involving spaceships and coding," Jake replied, a newfound clarity resonating inside him. "What if we created something that helps kids learn about space?" The thought delighted Timmy. "Now that's awesome, Dad." A wave of relief washed over Jake. It felt like the weight of the world had been lifted off his shoulders. By merging his ambitions with fatherhood, he could face both worlds without sacrificing one for the other. As the evening wore on, laughter echoed within those walls, each chuckle fortifying Jake's resolve. With a renewed understanding, he concluded that the balance he sought wasn't confined to choice. Rather, it lay in his ability to integrate his ambitions into his role as a father, forging a legacy not just for himself, but for Timmy too. Yet, as they finished their creation for the night, a notification buzzed again from Jake's phone, a message from Sarah about an upcoming team meeting. This time, however, it did not distract him. Instead, it signified an invitation to combine his worlds, but how far would he push to initiate that integration? The uncertainty stirred within him, laying the foundation for another challenge. Could this balance hold as he ventured deeper into the project with Sarah? The possibility of where this path might lead lit a fire of anticipation, awakening questions that remained unanswered in both his mind and heart. Dusk settled in, casting soft shadows across their new spaceship project. Jake felt invigorated, his mind buzzing with possibilities while Timmy's excitement bubbled over. As they stood back to admire their work, a chaotic blend of cardboard and paint, Jake couldn't help but feel a shift inside him. It was as though he had unlocked a vital piece of himself that had been dormant. The shared laughter and creativity lit an ember of hope. Merging his desires with fatherhood had become not just an option, but a newfound mission. Can we work on it again tomorrow? Timmy's childish innocence tugged at Jake's heart, and in that moment he relished his role as his son's partner in this endeavor. Absolutely, buddy. But right now, let us get you ready for bed. Tomorrow, we can brainstorm ideas on how to make it bigger and better. As he tucked Timmy in, Jake's thoughts drifted back to the challenges ahead. He pulsated between the excitement of the new project with Timmy and the looming meeting that awaited him. The function was crucial. It would lay the groundwork for Sarah's expectations regarding the project that he had unwittingly stepped into. That tension in his gut resurfaced the nagging concern about how he would present his son and their joint venture to a corporate landscape. Would it be seen as a genuine leap of innovation or merely a frivolous distraction? The night air drifted through the window as he returned to his laptop. The day's joyous creativity transformed into a focus-driven fire as he began typing. He outlined ideas, merging coding with storytelling, envisioning a digital adventure where kids could navigate the cosmos virtually. The innovative spirit he felt with Timmy was tangible. It became an extension of his parental instincts. Yet beneath this exhilaration lay the undercurrents of doubt. In pursuit of personal growth, he questioned whether he was prepared to share that vision, to allow it to inspire others while holding true to his role as a father. What would Sarah think? Was it enough to simply share an idea, reaffirm his commitment as a parent, or must he find a way to showcase Timmy's contributions in such a high-stakes environment? The thought of facing judgment from both his peers and his co-parent pushed him into a spiral of uncertainty. Sleep eluded him, and as the clock ticked into the early hours of dawn, Jake abandoned the laptop, leaving his thoughts penned with both eagerness and trepidation. In that quiet solitude, he reflected. This wasn't just about coding or children's spaceships. It was about creating a legacy for Timmy that extended into the world beyond their modest living room. The next morning, after a brief breakfast ritual layered with laughter, Jake made a decision. He would approach the meeting with transparency and intention to foster collaboration, and a genuine acknowledgement of where his passions intertwined with his paternal obligations. He would advocate for Timmy's contribution, explain how their project represented a shared dream, and invite feedback from Sarah. Arriving at the office, the atmosphere thrummed with tension. Colleagues shifted in their chairs, awaiting the meeting with Sarah. There was something electric about their anticipation. Jake could feel the weight of their expectations as he prepared to share his vision. Then, the moment arrived. Sarah entered the room with an air of authority. Her presence commanded respect. Jake's heart raced. Could he truly convey the essence of what he had with Timmy? Would his passion resonate, or would it be dismissed as a distraction? As he began to speak, merging his father's heart with his professional goals, he felt a crack in his anxiety, the potential for a bridge to form between his aspirations and his responsibilities. But would that bridge hold under scrutiny? The challenge he faced was imminent, and he felt the grip of that dual identity tightening around him. Jake, can you dive deeper into the details of your project? Sarah asked, her expression unreadable. This was his opportunity, but the pressure pulsed in his temples. A reminder that not everyone might embrace his dual role. Would this meeting empower his path or unravel the delicate balance he worked so hard to forge? The path ahead remained uncertain, yet Jake was ready to confront the unfolding narrative, one that might well define not just his career, but also the legacy he created with Timmy. Jake took a steadying breath, the room buzzing with expectation. He was surrounded by colleagues with eager eyes, hungry for insights into his project. Okay, let us dive into the details, he replied, anchoring himself in the moment. He focused on crafting a narrative that aligned his professional aspirations with fatherly pride, a delicate balance he was determined to maintain. He started with the core concept of the digital adventure, picturing a vibrant universe where children could explore new worlds. Their imaginations would guide them, just like he and Timmy had with their cardboard spaceship. He shared enthusiastic details about the educational components, emphasizing interaction and the thrill of discovery. The idea was to spark curiosity in kids, just as he felt it spark within himself. As he spoke, he noticed Sarah leaning forward, her brow furrowing in concentration. Was curiosity replacing skepticism? Jake pressed on, weaving in his vision of teamwork between him and Timmy, illustrating how they had spent evenings brainstorming ideas, sketching designs, and laughing about the absurdities of space travel. Each anecdote offered a glimpse into their bond, anchoring his project in personal significance. Involving Timmy, he added, feeling the urgency of authenticity, has transformed this project from a mere work assignment into a shared journey for us. General nods began circulating around the room, a tangible shift in the atmosphere. Jake dared to glance at Sarah again, who maintained her inscrutable expression, but he sensed a hint of understanding beneath her exterior. Her eyes held questions that reflected a blend of professional intrigue and personal contemplation. Encouraged, he addressed the biggest hurdle lurking behind his ambition, his fear of being perceived as a father first and a professional second. I understand the stakes for our company, he continued, but for me, this is about intertwining our futures. It's not just about a product, it's about showing Timmy what he can achieve when dreams and hard work collide. Silence enveloped the room, momentarily disarming. Jake saw the flicker of recognition in his colleagues' expressions. He sensed the struggle within them, a confrontation of their expectations against the humanity he was now unearthing. Just then, Sarah's voice cut through the suffocating quiet. Jake, her tone was different, softer, almost contemplative. You're proposing a new approach to our market, intertwining creativity with technology in a way that resonates. The compliment struck a chord deep within Jake. It moved him closer to the resolution he sought. This wasn't simply about a product launch, it began to feel like broader recognition of his dual identity. But when a senior colleague let their skepticism slip through a questioning remark about budget implications, Jake felt the ground beneath him shift. The commercial realities stood firm against his innovative dream. A wall began to form, pitting the ambitious narrative he had crafted against the practicalities of the corporate world. He grappled with the pressure, the weight of expectations overwhelming him. Did he have what it took to defend not just the project, but also the father he had embraced? Was this bold step truly an extension of who he wanted to be? The tension in the room thickened, he could feel a turning point looming. Jake glanced again at Sarah, searching for any sign of support. It struck him then, how this moment was not just a chance at career elevation, but a culmination of his evolution as a father, innovator, and partner. Whatever the outcome of this meeting, he thought, I have already forged a new space for myself. But as he prepared to dive deeper into the defense of his vision, a new wave of uncertainty crashed over him. Had he fully stepped into his power, or was he still trying to bridge a gap that would eventually fracture? Jake, I believe this has great potential, Sarah continued. But can it hold under the scrutiny? Her question hung in the air, heavy with the implications of what it meant to be both a parent and a professional. This was about more than a project, it was about identity. As he began to articulate his thoughts, Jake realized that the next steps held the potential for profound self-discovery. He had a chance not only to advocate for his project but also to define what kind of leader and father he aspired to be. Is this bridge strong enough to cross? He would soon learn. The next words he chose might just solidify his path, or expose the fissures he feared could break everything apart. But that challenge, that next confrontation, loomed ever closer, and as they gathered to listen, Jake knew he had to embrace it fully. Would he be able to rise to the occasion, or would he instead falter under the pressure of realization? Jake's heart raced as the room held its collective breath, eyes sharp with anticipation. He felt the weight of expectation both from his colleagues and a palpable force within himself. Each moment felt like a tightrope walk, with the balance between ambition and anxiety threatening to tip. The words rolled out, each statement more potent than the last as he laid out his vision in response to Sarah's question. This project isn't just a product, it's a reflection of who I am. His voice steadied, grounding him in the truth he had been wrestling with. It embodies the values I want to instill in Timmy: creativity, resilience, and the belief that dreams can translate into reality. Jake could see the shift occurring among his peers. Their skeptical frowns began to soften, replaced by intrigued expressions. The connection he sought was forming as he wore not just a professional mask but his fatherly heart on his sleeve. Yet, doubt whispered in the back of his mind. Would they understand? Would his passion resonate with their own career-driven motivations? "Let's talk budget," one of the more seasoned colleagues interjected, a well-meaning attempt to steer the conversation back to familiar territory. But Jake sensed the tension again, igniting the flame of confrontation. "Budget is important, but we also need vision," Jake shot back, an impulse fueled by the fervor of his convictions. "A visionary approach is what launches us ahead of our competitors. This project is about capturing the imagination of children and their parents, and that's worth the investment." The familiarity of his words felt comforting, a mantra of sorts, but it was not without the thrum of uncertainty coursing through him. Behind the walls of professionalism, he could almost hear his father's voice, reminders of calculated risk contrasted with heartfelt dreams. It was more than just business, it mirrored the delicate navigation of fatherhood he was learning to embrace. Could he truly be both? Sarah regarded him, an enigmatic blend of contemplation and challenge on her face. "Jake, how do we measure success in something so subjective? What benchmarks will define this venture beyond the spreadsheets?" Her query was genuine, and though it stung, it was designed to push him further. "I measure success in moments," he began, wondering if he could convey an abstract concept in tangible terms. "When a child discovers something new through our platform, or when Timmy lights up with that newfound curiosity, it validates everything." Jake could feel his pulse quickening as he spoke. He was charting unfamiliar territory, unsure if his emotions, or his dedication, could present themselves as valuable enough to deter doubts. The atmosphere shifted, he could feel the air around him thicken with shared experience. It was as if they all instinctively clung to the common thread of the mission he painted, a world where creativity thrived alongside accountability. Pausing for a beat, Jake looked around the table, locking eyes with Sarah. "This project isn't just a project for our firm, it's an opportunity for us to invest in the future generation. For my son, for your kids, what kind of legacy do we want to create? Will we be known as the company that shaped imagination in our world?" Silence welcomed his bold articulation, and for the first time, Jake sensed the landscape of the room skewed in his favor. He had moved beyond mere aspirations and into a realm of shared convictions. The internal wall he feared he had to scale began to dissolve. Yet something lingered in the back of his mind, a nagging worry about the fiscal realities still out there, silent and unyielding. Could he secure the support he needed while also maintaining the integrity of his vision? He deferred his attention back to the table as he prepared for the next round of inquiries, questions that would challenge him further. But something deeper stirred within him, ignited by the fire from his vulnerability. Perhaps this meeting was more than his moment of truth. It was a revelation of his ongoing transformation. As Sarah prepared to continue, Jake realized he was at the precipice of understanding. What would his next step reveal about him? What hidden strengths awaited acknowledgement? The pace quickened in his chest, the real challenge loomed just beyond the horizon, and he sensed the ground shifting beneath his resolve. Would he be able to fully embrace the tug-of-war between his paternal instincts and the sharp edges of corporate reality? He mused, the stakes rising higher as the confrontation drew near. The tension in the conference room was palpable, each face reflecting the dynamic of curiosity mingled with doubt. Jake could almost hear the rustle of notepads as Sarah composed her thoughts. It wasn't just about the project anymore, it was a defining moment for him. This was a junction where his professional ambitions dangerously flirted with his personal aspirations. As Sarah began to speak, he felt a surge of adrenaline. "Your passion is inspiring, Jake. But passion alone won't persuade the board. You need a solid strategy, something adaptable yet concrete," she articulated, weaving her critique with compassion. Jake nodded, absorbing the critique like a thirsting sponge. He'd always dismissed strategies as rigid and cold, yet here they were an essential skin over his vision. "You're right. A strategy," he repeated slowly, focusing on the concept. "We must create a framework that allows creativity to thrive while also meeting measurable outcomes. Perhaps starting with a focus group." The idea burgeoned in his mind, growing roots alongside the flicker of anxiety. He could visualize it, kids mediating interactions, parents giving feedback. Potentially a series of iterative reviews where creativity adjusted to actual engagement. But how will we ensure this gets funding? Another colleague chimed in. The skeptical tone was sharp, and it sliced through Jake's budding confidence like a knife. We present the potential ROI, Jake responded instinctively, awareness dawning on him that he had slipped into the familiar cloak of defensiveness. He straightened his posture, willing to change. But I prefer to think of it as a return on impact. He paused, letting the words hang in the air. Our goal should be more than profits, it's about enriching the lives of children and their families. When they see our efforts reflected in positive changes, that's success. The counterarguments began to soften, and for the first time, Jake felt genuine rapport building. But then came his nemesis, the ever-critical voice of Claire, the CFO, who wasn't known for her enthusiasm. You talk of impact, but can we afford to gamble on good intentions? We need facts, irrefutable statistics to back this up. Her words landed like stones in the water, sending ripples through Jake. He could feel the weight of her skepticism. He had gotten lost in passion, now he needed a lifeline of rationality to hoist him back. He embraced the challenge. Let us quantify creativity, then look into how imaginative play correlates with educational retention. We could tie our metrics to observable milestones. A shift occurred again, a wave of contemplation washing over the room. But in those moments of exploration, he also felt a wave of self-doubt crash in his chest. Why did every positive advancement leave him vulnerable to questioning his worth? Just as he was about to dismiss that inner voice, a new clarity emerged. You know, part of my struggle has been merging my work life with my life as a father. This project is very personal to me because I'm not only pitching a product, I'm advocating for a legacy. I want to find something that engages my son and his generation to think creatively. He caught Sarah's eye again, this time, her expression was notably softer, more understanding. Imagine if our project could be the foundation for more parents to connect with their children. We pave the path for future creativity, a legacy like no other, he said, embodying a mysterious blend of hope and determination. The assertiveness in his voice surprised even him. But Claire's reaction was immediate, her brows raised in intrigue rather than skepticism. That's a strong point, she acknowledged. Changing how we perceive value might very well resonate with the board. Jake felt his heartbeat quicken. A thought flickered, was that an opening? Yet it was immediately met with an uncomfortable realization he had steered the conversation into fresh waters, but would he have the stamina to navigate it all the way through? As dialogue resumed, alternatives flashed in his mind like potential paths through a forest. His visions of disengagement transformed into pathways of connection. He was learning to listen, adapt, and synthesize his emotions with corporate realities. But, as he caught glimpses of the boardroom's proceedings, he couldn't shake a looming concern. How far could he go without folding under the weight of expectations? Jake breathed deeply as the discussions intensified, each remark pulling him deeper into the unfolding complexity. What would his next strategic move be? Would he risk revealing more of his personal self, or keep his armor of professional distance? In that haze of uncertainty, he felt the pressing question rising. He needed to confront it before moving on. What if the very foundation of his legacy depended on his willingness to fully embrace both parenthood and his professional identity? The clock ticked ominously, echoing around the conference room as he prepared to dive even deeper into the discussion, ready to face whatever realities awaited him next. With the meeting's intensity radiating through the room, Jake prepared to embrace the dual identity he had been striving to forge: a father and a passionate professional. The atmosphere was charged, his colleagues balancing between skepticism and curiosity, their eyes glimmering with anticipation of what he would propose next. It was a moment that demanded clarity and resilience, and Jake felt the magnitude of that challenge wrapping around him. Creating a successful product means we must focus on strong engagement metrics, he elaborated, his voice gaining strength. We can leverage innovative technology to enhance creativity, not just for kids but for parents as well. Imagine a space where they collaborate in learning together. As he spoke, each word felt like a keystone, solidifying the vision he had fought to articulate so clearly. The room fell into contemplative silence, each individual wrestling with the implications of his words. Then came a question from Sarah, a gentle challenge that propelled the discussion even deeper. How do we ensure kids don't get overwhelmed? Technology can be daunting, especially for those who aren't tech-savvy. Jake appreciated the inquiry, a practical consideration that grounded his conceptual vision. That's where we can innovate, he replied, leaning in with renewed passion. By simplifying user interfaces and incorporating guided experiences that draw in parents, we turn technology into a tool for connection rather than a barrier. As he spoke, images of his evenings with Timmy materialized, nights spent piecing together not just spaceships, but moments of connection amidst shared laughter. It sprang from deep within him, a realization that transcended mere professional ambition. This was about enriching their lives, cultivating curiosity and resilience in the next generation, essentially bridging generations through creativity. Yet, Claire's piercing gaze hit him again with its skepticism. This sounds insightful, but we must ask ourselves, what differentiates our project from existing platforms? It's crucial that we establish a clear value proposition that is appealing both to investors and the end user. Jake nodded, respecting her directness. Absolutely. We can feature unique storytelling elements that personalize the experience, creating characters that resonate with children while incorporating lessons. This offers them something unique that other programs lack, blending play with substantive learning. With every word, the confidence solidified within him, his fears dissipating to the periphery. The juxtaposition of entrepreneurship and parenthood had fortified him. Suddenly, he found that they weren't at odds, but rather two parts of an evolving whole. His eyes shifted to the group, determination pooling in his gut. I've experienced firsthand how parents yearn for solutions that nurture imagination in their children. As a father, I know the frustration of sifting through countless platforms that don't truly engage Timmy. Our project could fill that gap, providing parents with a meaningful tool that helps them participate in their children's intellectual growth. In that moment, Jake felt an awakening. The despair that had plagued him since childhood threatened to dissolve in the light of purpose and authenticity. This wasn't just a pitch, it was an opportunity to redefine his narrative. No longer merely a single dad burdened by circumstance, Jake stood empowered, a determined father ready to merge his dreams with a vision of impact. As murmurs of interest circulated in the room, an unspoken exchange occurred. He could see it reflected in Sarah's expression. There was a shift, a recognition that what he was proposing extended beyond dollars and cents. It was about legacy, emotional engagement, and building something remarkable. To his surprise, the tension he previously felt began to transform. He shared more concrete ideas, elaborating on the project's roadmap, each step imbued with purpose and authenticity. Our initial focus group could dive right into testing the prototype, leading into a series of engaging workshops where parents collaborate with their children to maximize user experience. This project can pave the way for something brilliant, setting a new standard for educational technology. Time felt elastic as the discussion deepened. Slowly, he observed nods of approval amidst his colleagues, allowing himself to entertain the possibility that they saw beyond his initial insecurities. He envisioned how different his relationship with Timmy could become if he took pride in his work and integrated both realms of his existence into a fulfilling narrative. Encouraged by the budding support, Jake pressed further, pushing against the confines of fear. And when the project takes off, it will stand as a testament to the power of imaginative play, uniting young minds and their families. We can set the expectation that learning should never be a solitary journey. Jake's heart surged with conviction as he finished his presentation. His vulnerability had sparked something unexpected. His colleagues' engagement demonstrated that they now saw him as a collaboration partner. He could sense the room shifting, ready for the next steps. The meeting ended with discussions flowing organically into strategy formulation and timelines. Jake sat back, a surge of gratitude washing over him. They hadn't merely entertained his ideas. They had inspired him, validating his journey as both a father and a co-creator in this ambitious venture. As he stepped outside the meeting room, a profound transformation resonated within him. He had not only carved a new identity for his professional future, but he had also solidified his role as a present and engaged father. This was his victory, an affirmation that creating space for imaginative play could resonate deeply with both Timmy and a broader audience. Jake calmed his nerves, comforted by the thought that moved through him. He was beginning to excel in balancing his dual identities. The heaviness he once felt was giving way to a buoyant hope, buoyed by the possibilities that lay ahead. What began as a singular battle between being a father and a professional had blossomed into a narrative bursting with promise. Moving forward, he envisioned avenues of collaboration that could integrate every piece of who he was, giving Timmy the best version of himself to lean on, while opening doors anew for his career. That evening, Jake and Timmy sat tooth and nail at the kitchen table, armed with crayons, papers, and ideas still swirling in Jake's mind. Laughter filled the room while they sketched a spaceship with innovative designs that seemed possible now. With the new project ahead and heartfelt integration of his fatherly values, Jake knew he was on the right path, one that would lead to a fulfilling destination where dreams were bound to transform into reality. Ultimately, the journey was not just about succeeding professionally, it was about forging a legacy. Jake had conquered self-doubt, proven himself capable, and established a new perspective. He had triumphed, and while challenges ahead loomed, the confidence he had gained promised to reshape his interactions with life and fatherhood. As they finished a successful evening of creativity, Jake felt a surge of confidence that surely defined a transitional era in his life. He was ready for whatever came next, knowing he would rise to meet it with the assurance that he held within himself a father who had truly begun to achieve. Now, as the day closed, Jake couldn't shake the sensation that this was merely the beginning of an extraordinary journey, one ripe with potential. He looked forward to every facet of all that lay ahead, clutching it all close as he forged ahead unafraid. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support these uplifting narratives. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending, your feedback truly matters. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to spread this inspiration. Don't wait even one more second.